Chapter 9 of All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria Remarque, translated by Arthur Wesley Wien. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 9. We travel for several days. The first aeroplanes appear in the sky. We roll on past transport lines. Guns, guns. The light railway picks us up. I search for my regiment. No one knows exactly where it lies. Somewhere or other I put up for the night. Somewhere or other I receive provisions and a few vague instructions. And so with my pack and my rifle I set out again on the way. By the time I come up, they are no longer in that devastated place. I hear we have become one of the flying divisions that are pushed in wherever it is hottest. That does not sound cheerful to me. They tell me of heavy losses that we have been having. I inquire after Cad and Albert. No one knows anything of them. I search farther and wander about here and there. It is a wonderful feeling. One night and then another I camp out like a Red Indian. Then at last I get some definite information, and by the afternoon I am able to report to the orderly room. The sergeant major detains me there. The company comes back in 2 days' time. There is no object in sending me up now. "What was it like on leave?" he asks. "Pretty good, eh?" "In parts," I say. "Yes," he sighs. "Yes, if a man didn't have to come away again. The second half is always rather messed up by that." I loaf around until the company comes back in the early morning, gray, dirty, soured, and gloomy. Then I jump up, push in amongst them, my eyes searching. There is Chadden, there is Muller blowing his nose, and there are Cat and Kropp. We arrange our sacks of straw side by side. I have an uneasy conscience when I look at them, and yet without any good reason. Before we turn in, I bring out the rest of the potato cakes and jam so that they can have some too. The 2 outer cakes are moldy, still it is possible to eat them. I keep those for myself and give the fresh ones to Cat and Kropp. Cat chews and says, "These are from your mother?" I nod. "Good," says he. "I can tell by the taste." I could almost weep. I can hardly control myself any longer. But it will soon be all right again back here with Cad and Albert. This is where I belong. "You've been lucky," whispers Kropp to me before we drop off to sleep. "They say we are going to Russia." To Russia. It's not much of a war over there. In the distance the front thunders. The walls of the hut rattle. There is a great deal of polishing being done. We are inspected at every turn. Everything that is torn is exchanged for new. I score a spotless new tunic out of it, and Cat, of course, an entire outfit. A rumor is going around that there may be peace, but the other story is more likely, that we are bound for Russia. Still, what do we need new things for in Russia? At last it leaks out. The Kaiser is coming to review us. Hence all the inspections. For 8 whole days one would suppose we were in a base camp. There is so much drill and fuss. Everyone is peevish and touchy. We do not take kindly to all this polishing, much less to parades. Such things exasperate a soldier more than the front line. At last the moment arrives. We stand up stiff, and the Kaiser appears. We are curious to see what he looks like. He stalks along the line, and I am really rather disappointed. Judging from his pictures, I imagine him to be bigger and more powerfully built, and above all to have a thundering voice. He distributes iron crosses and speaks to this man and to that. Then we march off. Afterwards we discuss it. Chadden says with astonishment, "So that is the all-highest, and everyone, bar nobody, has to stand up stiff in front of him." He meditates. "Hindenburg, too, he has to stand up stiff to him, eh?" "Sure," says Cat. Chadden hasn't finished yet. He thinks for a while and then asks, "And would a king have to stand up stiff to an emperor?" None of us is quite sure about it, but we don't suppose so. They are both so exalted that standing strictly to attention is probably not insisted on. "What rot you do hatch out," says Cat. "The main point is that you have to stand stiff yourself." But Tjodden is quite fascinated. His otherwise prosy fancy is blowing bubbles. "But look," he announces, "I simply can't believe that an emperor has to go to the latrine the same as I have." "You can bet your boots on it." "4.5 wit makes 7, says Cat. "You've got a maggot in your brain, Tjodden. Just you run along to the latrine quick and get your head clear, so that you don't talk like a 2-year-old. Tjodden disappears. "But what I would like to know," says Albert, "is whether there would not have been a war if the Kaiser had said no." "I'm sure of this much," I interject. "He was against it from the first." "Well, if not him alone, then perhaps if 20 or 30 people in the world had said no." "That's probable," I agree, "but they damned well said yes." "It's queer when one thinks about it," goes on Kropp. "We are here to protect our fatherland, and the French are over there to protect their fatherland. Now who is in the right?" "Perhaps both," say I, without believing it. "Yes, well now," pursues Albert, and I see that he means to drive me into a corner, "but our professors and parsons and newspapers say that we are the only ones that are right, and let's hope so. But the French professors and parsons and newspapers say that the right is on their side. Now what about that?" "That I don't know," I say, "but whichever way it is, there's war all the same, and every month more countries coming in." Tjodden reappears. He is still quite excited and again joins the conversation, wondering just how a war gets started. "Mostly by one country badly offending another," answers Albert with a slight air of superiority. Then Tjodden pretends to be obtuse. "A country? I don't follow. A mountain in Germany cannot offend a mountain in France, or a river, or a wood, or a field of wheat." "Are you really as stupid as that, or are you just pulling my leg?" growls Kropp. "I don't mean that at all. One people offends the other." "Then I haven't any business here at all," replies Tjodden. "I don't feel myself offended." "Well, let me tell you," says Albert sourly, "it doesn't apply to tramps like you." "Then I can be going home right away," retorts Tjodden, and we all laugh. "Ach, man, he means the people as a whole, the state," exclaims Muller. "State, state!" Tjodden snaps his fingers contemptuously. "Gendarmes, police, taxes, that's your state. If that's what you're talking about, no thank you." "That's right," said Cat. "You've said something for once, Tjodden. State and home country, there's a big difference." "But they go together," insists Kropp. "Without the state there wouldn't be any home country." "True, but just you consider. Almost all of us are simple folk. And in France, too, the majority of men are laborers, workmen, or poor clerks. Now just why would a French blacksmith or a French shoemaker want to attack us? No, it's merely the rulers. I had never seen a Frenchman before I came here, and it will be just the same with the majority of Frenchmen as regards us. They aren't asked about it any more than we were." "Then what exactly is the war for?" asked Tjodden. Cat shrugs his shoulders. "There must be some people to whom the war is useful." "Well, I'm not one of them," grins Tjodden. "Not you nor anybody else here." "Who are they, then?" persists Tjodden. "It isn't any use to the Kaiser either. He has everything he can want already." "I'm not so sure about that," contradicts Cat. "He has not had a war up till now, and every full-grown emperor requires at least one war, otherwise he wouldn't become famous. You look in your schoolbooks." "And generals, too," adds Dettering. "They become famous through war." "Even more famous than emperors," adds Cat. "There are other people back behind there who profit by the war, that's certain," growls Dettering. "I think it's more a kind of fever," says Albert. No one in particular wants it, and then, all at once, there it is. We didn't want the war, the others say the same thing, and yet half the world is in it all the same. But there are more lies told by the other side than by us, says I. Just think of those pamphlets the prisoners have on them, where it says that we eat Belgian children. The fellows who write that ought to go and hang themselves. They are the real culprits. Muller gets up. Anyway, it is better that the war is here instead of in Germany. Just you take a look at the shell holes. True, assents Chadden, but no war at all would be better still. He is quite proud of himself because he has for once scored over us volunteers. And his opinion is quite typical here. One meets it time and again, and there is nothing with which one can properly counter it, because that is the limit of their comprehension of the factors involved. The national feeling of the Tommy resolves itself into this: here he is. But that is the end of it. Everything else from joining up onwards he criticizes from a practical point of view. Albert lies down on the grass and growls angrily. The best thing is not to talk about the rotten business. It won't make any difference, that's sure, agrees Cat. As for the windfall, we have to return almost all the new things and take back our old rags again. The good ones were merely for the inspection. Instead of going to Russia, we go up the line again. On the way, we pass through a devastated wood with the tree trunks shattered and the ground plowed up. At several places there are tremendous craters. Great guns, something's hit that, I say to Cat. Trench mortars, he replies, and then points up at one of the trees. In the branches, dead men are hanging. A naked soldier is squatting in the fork of a tree. He still has his helmet on, otherwise he is entirely unclad. There is only half of him sitting up there, the top half, the legs are missing. What can that mean? I ask. He's been blown out of his clothes, mutters Tjaden. It's funny, says Cat. We have seen that a couple of times now. If a mortar gets you, it blows you almost clean out of your clothes. It's the concussion that does it. I search around, and so it is. Here hangs bits of uniform, and somewhere else is plastered a bloody mess that was once a human limb. Over there lies a body with nothing but a piece of the underpants on one leg and the collar of the tunic around its neck. Otherwise, it is naked, and the clothes are hanging up in the tree. Both arms are missing, as though they have been pulled out. I discover one of them 20 yards off in a shrub. The dead man lies on his face. There, where the arm wounds are, the earth is black with blood. Underfoot, the leaves are scratched up as though the man had been kicking. That's no joke, Cat, say I. No more is a shell splinter in the belly, he replies, shrugging his shoulders. But don't get tender-hearted, says Tjaden. All this can only have happened a little while ago. The blood is still fresh. As everybody we see there is dead, we do not waste any more time, but report the affair at the next stretcher-bearer's post. After all, it is not our business to take these stretcher-bearers' jobs away from them. A patrol has to be sent out to discover just how far the enemy position is advanced. Since my leave, I feel a certain strange attachment to the other fellows, and so I volunteer to go with them. We agree on a plan, slip out through the wire, and then divide and creep forward separately. After a while, I find a shallow shell hole and crawl into it. From here, I peer forward. There is moderate machine-gun fire. It sweeps across from all directions, not very heavy, but always sufficient to make one keep down. A parachute star shell opens out. The ground lies stark in the pale light, and then the darkness shuts down again, blacker than ever. In the trenches, we were told there were black troops in front of us. That is nasty. It is hard to see them. They are very good at patrolling, too. And oddly enough, they are often quite stupid. For instance, both Cat and Crop were once able to shoot down a black enemy patrol because the fellows in their enthusiasm for cigarettes smoked while they were creeping about. Cat and Albert had simply to aim at the glowing ends of the cigarettes. A bomb or something lands close beside me. I have not heard it coming and am terrified. At the same moment, a senseless fear takes hold on me. Here I am alone and almost helpless in the dark. Perhaps two other eyes have been watching me for a long while from another shell hole in front of me, and a bomb lies ready to blow me to pieces. I try to pull myself together. It is not my first patrol, and not a particularly risky one. But it is the first since my leave, and besides, the lie of the land is still rather strange to me. I tell myself that my alarm is absurd, that there is probably nothing at all there in the darkness watching me, because otherwise the missile would not have landed so flat. It is in vain. In whirling confusion, my thoughts hum in my brain. I hear the warning voice of my mother. I see the Russians with the flowing beards leaning against the wire fence. I have a bright picture of a canteen with stools, of a cinema in Valenciennes. Tormented, terrified, in my imagination I see the grey, impalpable muzzle of a rifle which moves noiselessly before me whichever way I try to turn my head. The sweat breaks out from every pore. I still continue to lie in my shallow bowl. I look at the time. Only a few minutes have passed. My forehead is wet, the sockets of my eyes are damp, my hands tremble, and I am panting softly. It is nothing but an awful spasm of fear, a simple animal fear of poking out my head and crawling on farther. All my efforts subside like froth into the one desire to be able to just stay lying there. My limbs are glued to the earth. I make a vain attempt. They refuse to come away. I press myself down on the earth. I cannot go forward. I make up my mind to stay lying there. But immediately the wave floods over me anew, a mingled sense of shame, of remorse, and yet at the same time of security. I raise myself up a little to take a look around. My eyes burn with staring into the dark. A star shell goes up. I duck down again. I wage a wild and senseless fight. I want to get out of the hollow and yet slide back into it again. I say, "You must. It is your comrades. It is not any idiotic command." And again, "What does it matter to me? I have only one life to lose." That is the result of all this leave. I reproach myself bitterly. But I cannot convince myself. I become terribly faint. I raise myself slowly and reach forward with my arms, dragging my body after me, and then lie on the edge of the shell hole, half in and half out. There I hear sounds and drop back. Suspicious sounds can be detected clearly despite the noise of the artillery fire. I listen. The sound is behind me. They are our people moving along the trench. Now I hear muffled voices. To judge by the tone, that might be cat talking. At once a new warmth flows through me. These voices, these few quiet words, these footsteps in the trench behind me, recall me at a bound from the terrible loneliness and fear of death by which I have been almost destroyed. They are more to me than life, these voices. They are more than motherliness and more than fear. They are the strongest, most comforting thing there is anywhere. They are the voices of my comrades. I am no longer a shuddering speck of existence, alone in the darkness. I belong to them, and they to me. We all share the same fear and the same life. We are nearer than lovers, in a simpler, a harder way. I could bury my face in them, in these voices, these words that have saved me and will stand by me. Cautiously, I glide out over the edge and snake my way forward. I shuffle along on all fours a bit farther. I keep track of my bearings, look around me, and observe the distribution of the gunfire so as to be able to find my way back. Then I try to get in touch with the others. I am still afraid, but it is an intelligent fear, an extraordinarily heightened caution. The night is windy, and shadows flit hither and thither in the flicker of the gunfire. It reveals too little and too much. Often I peer ahead, but always for nothing. Thus I advance a long way, and then turn back in a wide curve. I have not established touch with the others. Every yard nearer our trench fills me with confidence, and with haste, too. It would be bad to get lost now. Then a new fear lays hold of me. I can no longer remember the direction. Quiet, I squat in a shell hole and try to locate myself. More than once it has happened that some fellow has jumped joyfully into a trench, only then to discover that it was the wrong one. After a little time I listen again, but still I am not sure. The confusion of shell holes now seems so bewildering that I can no longer tell in my agitation which way I should go. Perhaps I am crawling parallel to the lines, and that might go on forever. So I crawl round once again in a wide curve. These damned rockets! They seem to burn for an hour, and a man cannot make the least movement without bringing the bullets whistling round. But there is nothing for it. I must get out. Falteringly, I work my way farther. I move off over the ground like a crab and rip my hands sorely on the jagged splinters, as sharp as razor blades. Often I think that the sky is becoming lighter on the horizon, but it may be merely my imagination. Then gradually I realize that to crawl in the right direction is a matter of life or death. A shell crashes. Almost immediately 2 others. And then it begins in earnest. A bombardment. Machine guns rattled. Now there is nothing for it but to stay lying low. Apparently an attack is coming. Everywhere the rockets shoot up, unceasing. I lie huddled in a large shell hole, my legs in the water up to the belly. When the attack starts, I will let myself fall into the water, with my face as deep in the mud as I can keep it without suffocating. I must pretend to be dead. Suddenly I hear the barrage lift. At once I slip down into the water, my helmet on the nape of my neck and my mouth just clear so that I can get a breath of air. I lie motionless. Somewhere something clanks. It stamps and stumbles nearer. All my nerves become taut and icy. It clatters over me and away. The first wave has passed. I have but this one shattering thought. What will you do if someone jumps into your shell hole? Swiftly I pull up my little dagger, grasp it fast, and bury it in my hand once again under the mud. If anyone jumps in here, I will go for him. It hammers in my forehead. At once stab him clean through the throat, so that he cannot call out. That's the only way. He will be just as frightened as I am when in terror we fall upon one another. Then I must be first. Now our batteries are firing. A shell lands near me. That makes me savage with fury. All it needs now is to be killed by our own shells. I curse and grind my teeth in the mud. It is a raving frenzy. In the end, all I can do is groan and pray. The crash of the shells bursts in my ears. If our fellows make a counter-raid, I will be saved. I press my head against the earth and listen to the muffled thunder, like the explosions of quarrying, and raise it again to listen for the sounds on top. The machine guns rattle. I know our barbed wire entanglements are strong and almost undamaged. Parts of them are charged with a powerful electric current. The rifle fire increases. They have not broken through. They have to retreat. I sink down again, huddled, strained to the uttermost. The banging, the creeping, the clanging becomes audible. One single cry yelling amongst it all. They are raked with fire. The attack is repulsed. Already it has become somewhat lighter. Steps hasten over me. The first. Gone. Again another. The rattle of machine guns becomes an unbroken chain. Just as I am about to turn round a little, something heavy stumbles, and with a crash, a body falls over me into the shell hole, slips down, and lies across me. I do not think at all. I make no decision. I strike madly home, and feel only how the body suddenly convulses, then becomes limp and collapses. When I recover myself, my hand is sticky and wet. The man gurgles. It sounds to me as though he bellows. Every gasping breath is like a cry, a thunder, but it is only my heart pounding. I want to stop his mouth, stuff it with earth, stab him again. He must be quiet. He is betraying me. Now at last I regain control of myself, but have suddenly become so feeble that I cannot any more lift my hand against him. So I crawl away to the farthest corner and stay there, my eyes glued on him, my hand grasping the knife, ready, if he stirs, to spring at him again. But he won't do so any more. I can hear that already in his gurgling. I can see him indistinctly. I have but one desire, to get away. If it is not soon, it will be too light. It will be difficult enough now. Then, as I try to raise up my head, I see it is impossible already. The machine-gun fire so sweeps the ground that I would be shot through and through before I could make one jump. I test it once with my helmet, which I take off and hold up to find out the level of the shots. The next moment it is knocked out of my hand by a bullet, the fire sweeping very low over the ground. I am not far enough from the enemy line to escape being picked off by one of the snipers if I attempt to get away. The light increases. Burning, I wait for our attack. My hands are white at the knuckles. I clench them so tightly in my longing for the fire to cease so that my comrades may come. Minute after minute trickles away. I dare not look again at the dark figure in the shell hole. With an effort, I look past it and wait. The bullets hiss. They make a steel net, never ceasing, never ceasing. Then I notice my bloody hand and suddenly feel nauseated. I take some earth and rub the skin with it. Now my hand is muddy and the blood cannot be seen any more. The fire does not diminish. It is equally heavy from both sides. Our fellows have probably given me up for lost long ago. It is early morning, clear and gray. The gurgling continues. I stop my ears, but soon take my fingers away again because then I cannot hear the other sound. The figure opposite me moves. I shrink together and involuntarily look at it. Then my eyes remain glued to it. A man with a small pointed beard lies there. His head is fallen to one side, one arm is half bent, his head rests helplessly upon it. The other hand lies on his chest. It is bloody. He is dead, I say to myself. He must be dead. He doesn't feel anything any more. It is only the body that is gurgling there. Then the head tries to raise itself. For a moment the groaning becomes louder. His forehead sinks back upon his arm. The man is not dead. He is dying, but he is not dead. I drag myself toward him, hesitate, support myself on my hands, creep a bit farther, wait. Again a terrible journey of 3 yards, a long, a terrible journey. At last I am beside him. Then he opens his eyes. He must have heard me and gazes at me with a look of utter terror. The body lies still, but in the eyes there is such an extraordinary expression of flight that for a moment I think they have the power enough to carry the body off with them. Hundreds of miles away with one bound. The body is still, perfectly still, without sound. The gurgle has ceased, but the eyes cry out, yell. All the life is gathered together in them for one tremendous effort to flee, gathered together there in a dreadful terror of death, of me. My legs give way, and I drop on my elbows. "No, no," I whisper. The eyes follow me. I am powerless to move so long as they are there. Then his hand slips slowly from his breast, only a little. It sinks just a few inches, but this movement breaks the power of the eyes. I bend forward, shake my head, and whisper, "No, no, no." I raise one hand. I must show him that I want to help him. I stroke his forehead. The eyes shrink back as the hand comes. Then they lose their stare. The eyelids droop lower, the tension is past. I open his collar and place his head more comfortably upright. His mouth stands half open. It tries to form words. The lips are dry. My water bottle is not there. I have not brought it with me. But there is water in the mud, down at the bottom of the crater. I climb down, take out my handkerchief, spread it out, push it under, and scoop up the yellow water that strains through into the hollow of my hand. He gulps it down. I fetch some more. Then I unbutton his tunic in order to bandage him if it is possible. In any case, I must do it, so that if the fellows over there capture me, they will see that I wanted to help him, and so will not shoot me. He tries to resist, but his hand is too feeble. The shirt is stuck and will not come away. It is buttoned at the back, so there is nothing for it but to cut it off. I look for the knife and find it again. But when I begin to cut the shirt, the eyes open once more, and the cry is in them again, and the demented expression that I must close them, press them shut, and whisper, "I want to help you, comrade, 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 comrade," eagerly repeating the word to make him understand. There are 3 stabs. My field dressing covers them. The blood runs out under it. I press it tighter. There. He groans. That is all I can do. Now we must wait. These hours, the gurgling starts again, but how slowly a man dies. For this I know, he cannot be saved. Indeed, I have tried to tell myself that he will be, but at noon this pretense breaks down and melts before his groans. If only I had not lost my revolver crawling about, I would shoot him. Stab him I cannot. By noon I am groping on the outer limits of reason. Hunger devours me. I could almost weep for something to eat, but I cannot struggle against it. Again and again I fetch water for the dying man and drink some myself. This is the first man I have killed with my hands, whom I can see close at hand, whose death is my doing. Cat and Kropp and Muller have experienced it already when they have hit someone. It happens to many in hand-to-hand fighting especially. But every gasp lays my heart bare. This dying man has time with him. He has an invisible dagger with which he stabs me. Time and my thoughts. I would give much if he would but stay alive. It is hard to lie here and to have to see and hear him. In the afternoon, about 3, he is dead. I breathe freely again, but only for a short time. Soon the silence is more unbearable than the groans. I wish the gurgling were there again, gasping, hoarse, now whistling softly, and again hoarse and loud. It is mad what I do, but I must do something. I prop the dead man up again so that he lies comfortably, although he feels nothing any more. I close his eyes. They are brown, his hair is black and a bit curly at the sides. The mouth is full and soft beneath his mustache. The nose is slightly arched, the skin brownish. It is now not so pale as it was before when he was still alive. For a moment the face seems almost healthy. Then it collapses suddenly into the strange face of the dead that I have so often seen. Strange faces, all alike. No doubt his wife still thinks of him. She does not know what has happened. He looks as if he would often have written to her. She will still be getting mail from him. Tomorrow, in a week's time, perhaps even a stray letter a month hence. She will read it, and in it he will be speaking to her. My state is getting worse. I can no longer control my thoughts. What would his wife look like? Like the little brunette on the other side of the canal? Does she belong to me now? Perhaps by this act she becomes mine. I wish Cantrick were sitting here beside me. If my mother could see me. The dead man might have had 30 more years of life if only I had impressed the way back to our trench more sharply on my memory. If only he had run 2 yards farther to the left, he might now be sitting in the trench over there and writing a fresh letter to his wife. But I will get no further that way, for that is the fate of all of us. If Kemrick's leg had been 6 inches to the right, if Hyavistus had bent his back 3 inches further forward. The silence spreads. I talk and must talk. So I speak to him and say to him, "Comrade, I did not want to kill you. If you jumped in here again, I would not do it, if you would be sensible too. But you were only an idea to me before, an abstraction that lived in my mind and called forth an appropriate response. It was that abstraction I stabbed. But now, for the first time, I see you are a man like me. I thought of your hand grenades, of your bayonet, of your rifle. Now I see your wife and your face and our fellowship. Forgive me, comrade. We always see it too late. Why do they never tell us that you are just poor devils like us, that your mothers are just as anxious as ours, and that we have the same fear of death, and the same dying, and the same agony? Forgive me, comrade. How could you be my enemy? If we threw away these rifles and this uniform, you could be my brother, just like Cat and Albert. Take 20 years of my life, comrade, and stand up. Take more, for I do not know what I can even attempt to do with it now." It is quiet. The front is still except for the crackle of rifle fire. The bullets rain over. They are not fired haphazard, but shrewdly aimed from all sides. I cannot get out. "I will write to your wife," I say hastily to the dead man. "I will write to her. She must hear it from me. I will tell her everything I have told you. She shall not suffer. I will help her, and your parents too, and your child." His tunic is half open. The pocketbook is easy to find, but I hesitate to open it. In it is the book with his name. So long as I do not know his name, perhaps I may still forget him. Time will obliterate it, this picture. But his name, it is a nail that will be hammered into me and never come out again. It has the power to recall this forever. It will always come back and stand before me. Irresolutely, I take the wallet in my hand. It slips out of my hand and falls open. Some pictures and letters drop out. I gather them up and want to put them back again, but the strain I am under, the uncertainty, the hunger, the danger, these hours with the dead man have confused me. I want to hasten the relief, to intensify and to end the torture, as one strikes an unendurably painful hand against the trunk of a tree regardless of everything. There are portraits of a woman and a little girl, small amateur photographs taken against an ivy-clad wall. Along with them are letters. I take them out and try to read them. Most of it I do not understand. It is so hard to decipher, and I know scarcely any French. But each word I translate pierces me like a shot in the chest, like a stab in the chest. My brain is taxed beyond endurance. But I realize this much, that I will never dare to write to these people as I intended. Impossible. I look at the portraits once more. They are clearly not rich people. I might send them money anonymously if I earn anything later on. I seize upon that. It is at least something to hold on to. This dead man is bound up with my life. Therefore, I must do everything, promise everything, in order to save myself. I swear blindly that I mean to live only for his sake and his family. With wet lips, I try to placate him. And deep down in me lies the hope that I may buy myself off in this way, and perhaps even yet get out of this. It is a little stratagem. If only I am allowed to escape, then I will see to it. So I open the book and read slowly, Gerard Duval, compositor. With the dead man's pencil, I write the address on an envelope, then swiftly thrust everything back into his tunic. I have killed the printer, Gerard Duval. I must be a printer, I think confusedly. Be a printer. Printer. By afternoon I am calmer. My fear was groundless. The name troubles me no more. The madness passes. "Comrade," I say to the dead man, but I say it calmly, "today you, tomorrow me. But if I come out of it, comrade, I will fight against this, that has struck us both down. From you taken life, and from me life also. I promise you, comrade, it shall never happen again." The sun strikes low. I am stupefied with exhaustion and hunger. Yesterday is like a fog to me. There is no hope of getting out of this yet. I fall into a doze and do not realize at first that evening is approaching. The twilight comes. It seems to me to come quickly now. 1 hour more. If it were summer, it would be 3 hours more. 1 hour more. Now suddenly I begin to tremble. Something might happen in the interval. I think no more of the dead man. He is of no consequence to me now. With one bound the lust to live flares up again, and everything that has filled my thoughts goes down before it. Now, merely to avert my ill luck, I babble mechanically, "I will fulfill everything I have promised you." But already I know that I shall not do so. Suddenly it occurs to me that my own comrades may fire on me as I creep up. They do not know I am coming. I will call out as soon as I can so that they will recognize me. I will stay lying in front of the trench until they answer me. The first star. The front remains quiet. I breathe deeply and talk to myself in my excitement. "No foolishness now, Paul. Quiet, Paul, quiet. Then you will be saved, Paul." When I use my Christian name, it works as though someone else spoke to me. It has more power. The darkness grows. My excitement subsides. I wait cautiously until the first rocket goes up. Then I crawl out of the shell hole. I have forgotten the dead man. Before me lies the oncoming night and the pale gleaming field. I fix my eye on a shell hole. The moment the light dies, I scurry over to it, grope farther, spring into the next, duck down, scramble onward. I come nearer. There, by the light of a rocket, I see something move in the wire. Then it stiffens and lies still. Next time I see it again. Yes, they are men from our trench. But I am suspicious until I recognize our helmets. Then I call, and immediately an answer rings out, my name. "Paul! Paul!" I call again in answer. It is Cat and Albert who have come out with a stretcher to look for me. "Are you wounded?" "No, no." We drop into the trench. I ask for something to eat and wolf it down. Muller gives me a cigarette. In a few words I tell what happened. There is nothing new about it. It happens quite often. The night attack is the only unusual feature of the business. In Russia, Cat once lay for 2 days behind the enemy lines before he could make his way back. I do not mention the dead printer. But by next morning I can keep it to myself no longer. I must tell Cat and Albert. They both try to calm me. "You can't do anything about it. What else could you have done? That is what you are here for." I listen to them and feel comforted, reassured by their presence. It was mere driveling nonsense that I talked out there in the shell hole. "Look there, for instance," points Cat. On the fire step stand some snipers. They rest their rifles with telescopic sights on the parapet and watch the enemy front. Once and again a shot cracks out. Then we hear the cry, "That's found a billet! Did you see how he leapt in the air?" Sergeant Ulrich turns round proudly and scores his point. He heads the shooting list for today with 3 unquestionable hits. "What do you say to that?" asks Cat. I nod. "If he keeps that up, he will get a little colored bird for his buttonhole by this evening," says Albert. "Or rather, he will soon be made acting sergeant major," says Cat. We look at one another. "I would not do it," I say. "All the same, says Cat. "It's very good for you to see it just now." Sergeant Ulrich returns to the fire step. The muzzle of his rifle searches to and fro. "You don't need to lose any more sleep over your affair," nods Albert. "And now I hardly understand it myself any more." "It was only because I had to lie there with him so long," I say. "After all, war is war." Ulrich's rifle cracks out sharp and dry. End of Chapter 9. Chapter 10. Of All Quiet on the Western Front, by Erich Maria Remarque, translated by Arthur Wesley Wien. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 10. We have dropped in for a good job. 8 of us have to guard a village that has been abandoned because it is being shelled too heavily. In particular, we have to watch the supply dump, as that is not yet empty. We are supposed to provision ourselves from the same store. We are just the right people for that. Cat, Albert, Muller, Chaden, Dettering, our whole gang is there. Haya is dead, though. But we are mighty lucky all the same. All the other squads have had more casualties than we have. We select as a dugout a reinforced concrete cellar into which steps lead down from above. The entrance is protected by a separate concrete wall. Now we develop an immense industry. This is an opportunity not only to stretch one's legs, but to stretch one's soul also. We make the best use of such opportunities. The war is too desperate to allow us to be sentimental for long. That is only possible so long as things are not going too badly. After all, we cannot afford to be anything but matter-of-fact. So matter-of-fact, indeed, that I often shudder when a thought from the days before the war comes momentarily into my head. But it does not stay long. We have to take things as lightly as we can, so we make the most of every opportunity, and nonsense stands stark and immediate beside horror. It cannot be otherwise. That is how we hearten ourselves. So we zealously set to work to create an idyll of eating and sleeping, of course. The floor is first covered with mattresses which we haul in from the houses. Even a soldier's behind likes to sit soft. Only in the middle of the floor is there any clear space. Then we furnish ourselves with blankets and eiderdowns, luxurious soft affairs. There is plenty of everything to be had in the town. Albert and I find a mahogany bed which can be taken to pieces, with a sky of blue silk and a lace coverlet. We sweat like monkeys moving it in, but a man cannot let a thing like that slip, and it would certainly be shot to pieces in a day or two. Cat and I do a little patrolling through the houses. In very short time we have collected 12 eggs and 2 pounds of fairly fresh butter. Suddenly there is a crash in the drawing-room, and an iron stove hurtles through the wall past us and on, a yard from us out through the wall behind. 2 holes. It comes from the house opposite where a shell has just landed. "The swine," grimaces Cat, and we continue our search. All at once we prick up our ears, hurry across, and suddenly stand petrified. There, running up and down in a little sty, are 2 live sucking pigs. We rub our eyes and look once again to make certain. Yes, they are still there. We seize hold of them, no doubt about it, 2 real young pigs. This will make a grand feed. About 20 yards from our dugout there is a small house that was used as an officer's billet. In the kitchen is an immense fireplace with 2 ranges, pots, pans, and kettles. Everything, even to a stack of small chopped wood in an outhouse, a regular cook's paradise. 2 of our fellows have been out in the fields all the morning, hunting for potatoes, carrots, and green peas. We are quite uppish, and sniff at the tin stuff in the supply dump. We want fresh vegetables. In the dining room there are already 2 heads of cauliflower. The sucking pigs are slaughtered. Cat sees to them. We want to make potato cakes to go with the roast, but we cannot find a grater for the potatoes. However, that difficulty is soon got over. With a nail we punch a lot of holes in a pot lid, and there we have a grater. 3 fellows put on thick gloves to protect their fingers against the grater, 2 others peel the potatoes, and the business gets going. Cat samples the sucking pigs, the carrots, the peas, and the cauliflower. He even mixes a white sauce for the cauliflower. I fry the pancakes, 4 at a time. After 10 minutes, I get the knack of tossing the pan so that the pancakes which are done on one side sail up, turn in the air, and are caught again as they come down. The sucking pigs are baked whole. We all stand round them as before an altar. In the meantime, we receive visitors, a couple of wireless men, who are generously invited to the feed. They sit in the living room where there is a piano. One of them plays, the other sings An der Weser. He sings feelingly, but with a rather Saxon accent. All the same, it moves us as we stand at the fireplace preparing the good things. Then we begin to realize that we are in for trouble. The observation balloons have spotted the smoke from our chimney, and the shells start to drop on us. They are those damned spraying little daisy cutters that make only a small hole and scatter widely close to the ground. They keep dropping closer and closer all round us. Still, we cannot leave the grub in the lurch. A couple of splinters whiz through the top of the kitchen window. The roast is already cooked, but frying the pancakes is getting difficult. The explosions come so fast that the splinters strike often and oftener against the wall of the house and sweep in through the window. Whenever I hear a shell coming, I drop down on one knee with the pan and the pancakes and duck behind the wall of the window. Immediately afterwards, I am up again and going on with the frying. The Saxon stops singing. A fragment has smashed into the piano. At last everything is ready, and we organize the transport of it back to the dugout. After the next explosion, 2 men dash across the 50 yards to the dugout with the pots of vegetables. We see them disappear. The next shot. Everyone ducks, and then 2 more trot off, each with a big can of finest grade coffee, and reach the dugout before the next explosion. Then Cat and Crop seize the masterpiece, the big dish with the brown roasted sucking pigs. A screech, a knee bend, and away they race over the 50 yards of open country. I stay to finish frying my last 4 pancakes. Twice I have to drop on the floor. After all, it means 4 pancakes more, and they are my favorite dish. Then I grab the plate with the great pile of cakes and squeeze myself behind the house door. A hiss, a crash, and I gallop off with the plate clamped against my chest with both hands. I am almost in. I run like a deer, sweep round the wall, fragments clatter against the concrete. I tumble down the cellar steps, my elbows are skinned, but I have not lost a single pancake nor even broken the plate. About 2 o'clock we start the meal. It lasts until 6. We drink coffee until 7:30, officers' coffee from the supply dump, and smoke officers' cigars and cigarettes, also from the supply dump. Punctually at 7:30 we begin the evening meal. About 10 o'clock we throw the bones of the sucking pigs outside the door. Then there is cognac and rum, also from the blessed supply dump, and once again long fat cigars with belly bands. Chowden suggests that it lacks only one thing: girls from an officer's brothel. Late in the evening we hear mewing. A little gray cat sits in the entrance. We entice it in and give it something to eat, and that wakes up our own appetites once more. Still chewing, we lay down to sleep. But the night is bad. We have eaten too much fat. Fresh baby pig is very griping to the bowels. There is an everlasting coming and going in the dugout. 2-3 men with their pants down are always sitting about outside and cursing. I have been out 9 times myself. About 4 o'clock in the morning we reach a record. All 11 men, guards, and visitors are squatting outside. Burning houses stand out like torches against the night. Shells lumber across and crash down. Munition columns tear along the street. On one side the supply dump has been ripped open. In spite of all the flying fragments, the drivers of the munition columns pour in like swarms of bees and pounce on the bread. We have let them have their own way. If we said anything, it would only mean a good hiding for us. So we go differently about it. We explain that we are the guard, and so know our way about. We get hold of the tin stuff and exchange it for things we are short of. What does it matter, anyhow? In a while it will all be blown to pieces. For ourselves, we take some chocolate from the depot and eat it in slabs. Cat says it is good for loose bowels. Almost a fortnight passes thus in eating, drinking, and roaming about. No one disturbs us. The town gradually vanishes under the shells, and we lead a charmed life. So long as any part of the supply dump still stands, we don't worry. We desire nothing better than to stay here till the end of the war. Tjaden has become so fastidious that he only half smokes his cigars. With his nose in the air, he explains to us that he was brought up that way. And Cat is most cheerful. In the morning, his first call is, "Emile, bring in the caviar and coffee." We put on extraordinary airs. Every man treats the other as his valet, bounces him, and gives him orders. "There is something itching under my foot. Crop, my man, catch that louse at once," says Lear, poking out his leg at him like a ballet girl, and Albert drags him up the stairs by the foot. "Tjaden." "What?" "Stand at ease, Tjaden, and once more don't say 'what,' say 'yes, sir.' Now, Tjaden." Tjaden retorts in the well-known phrase from Goethe's Gotts van Berlichingen, with which he is always very free. After 8 more days, we receive orders to go back. The palmy days are over. 2 big motor lorries take us away. They are stacked high with planks. Nevertheless, Albert and I erect on top our 4-poster bed, complete with blue silk canopy, mattress, and 2 lace coverlets. And behind it, at the head, is stowed a bag full of choice edibles. We often dip into it, and the tough ham sausages, the tins of liver sausages, the conserves, the boxes of cigarettes rejoice our hearts. Each man has a bag to himself. Kropp and I have rescued 2 big red armchairs as well. They stand inside the bed, and we sprawl back in them as in a theater box. Above us swells the silken cover like a baldaquin. Each man has a long cigar in his mouth, and thus from aloft we survey the scene. Between us stands a parrot cage that we found for the cat. She is coming with us, and lies in the cage before her saucer of meat and purrs. Slowly the lorries roll down the road. We sing. Behind us the shells are sending up fountains from the now utterly abandoned town. A few days later we are sent out to evacuate a village. On the way we meet the fleeing inhabitants trundling their goods and chattels along with them in wheelbarrows, perambulators, and on their backs. Their figures are bent, their faces full of grief, despair, haste, and resignation. The children hold on to their mothers' hands, and often an older girl leads the little ones who stumble onward and are forever looking back. A few carry miserable-looking dolls. All are silent as they pass us by. We are marching in column. The French do not fire on a town in which there are still inhabitants. But a few minutes later the air screams, the earth heaves, cries ring out. A shell has landed among the rear squad. We scatter and fling ourselves down on the ground, but at that moment I feel the instinctive alertness leave me which hitherto has always made me do unconsciously the right thing under fire. The thought leaps up with a terrible throttling fear. You are lost, and the next moment a blow sweeps like a whip over my left leg. I hear Albert cry out. He is beside me. "Quick, up, Albert!" I yell, for we are lying unsheltered in the open field. He staggers up and runs. I keep beside him. We have to get over a hedge. It is higher than we are. Kropp seizes a branch. I heave him up by the leg. He cries out. I give him a swing, and he flies over. With one leap I follow him and fall into a ditch that lies behind the hedge. Our faces are smothered with duckweed and mud, but the cover is good. So we wade in up to our necks. Whenever a shell whistles, we duck our heads under the water. After we have done this a dozen times, I am exhausted. "Let's get away, or I'll fall in and drown," groans Albert. "Where has it got you?" I ask him. "In the knee, I think." "Can you run?" "I think." "Then out." We make for the ditch beside the road, and stooping run along it. The shelling follows us. The road leads toward the munition dump. If that goes up, there won't be a man of us with his head left on his shoulders. So we change our plan and run diagonally across country. Albert begins to drag. "You go, I'll come on after," he says, and throws himself down. I seize him by the arm and shake him. "Up, Albert. If once you lie down, you'll never get any farther. Quick, I'll hold you up." At last we reach a small dugout. Crop pitches in, and I bandage him up. The shot is just a little above his knee. Then I take a look at myself. My trousers are bloody, and my arm too. Albert binds up my wounds with his field dressing. Already he is no longer able to move his leg, and we both wonder how we managed to get this far. Fear alone made it possible. We would have run even if our feet had been shot off. We would have run on the stumps. I can still crawl a little. I call out to a passing ambulance wagon which picks us up. It is full of wounded. There is an Army Medical Lance Corporal with it who sticks an anti-tetanus needle into our chests. At the dressing station, we arrange matters so that we lie side by side. They give us a thin soup which we spoon down greedily and scornfully, because we are accustomed to better times but are hungry all the same. "Now for home, Albert," I say. "Let's hope so," he replies. "I only wish I knew what I've got." The pain increases. The bandages burn like fire. We drink and drink, one glass of water after another. "How far above the knee am I hit?" asks Crop. "At least 4 inches, Albert," I answer. "Actually, it is perhaps 1. "I've made up my mind," he says after a while. "If they take off my leg, I'll put an end to it. I won't go through life as a cripple." So we lie there with our thoughts and wait. In the evening, we are hauled on to the chopping block. I am frightened and think quickly what I ought to do, for everyone knows that the surgeons in the dressing stations amputate on the slightest provocation. Under the great pressure of business, that is much simpler than complicated patching. I think of Kemrick. Whatever happens, I will not let them chloroform me, even if I have to crack a couple of their skulls. It is all right. The surgeon pokes around in the wound, and a blackness comes before my eyes. "Don't carry on so," he says gruffly, and hacks away. The instruments gleam in the bright light like malevolent animals. The pain is insufferable. 2 orderlies hold my arms fast, but I break loose with one of them and try to crash into the surgeon's spectacles, just as he notices and springs back. "Chloroform the scoundrel!" he roars madly. Then I become quiet. "Pardon me, Herr Doctor. I will keep still, but do not chloroform me." "Well, now," he cackles and takes up his instrument again. He is a fair fellow, not more than 30 years old, with scars and disgusting gold spectacles. Now I see that he is tormenting me. He is merely raking about in the wound and looking up surreptitiously at me over his glasses. My hands squeeze around the grips. I'll kick the bucket before he will get a squeak out of me. He has fished out a piece of shell and tosses it to me. Apparently, he is pleased at my self-control, for he seems to be more considerate of me now and says, "Tomorrow you'll be off home." Then I am put in plaster. When I am back again with Crop, I tell him that apparently a hospital train comes in tomorrow morning. We must work the Army Medical Sergeant Major so that we can keep together, Albert. I manage to slip the Sergeant Major 2 of my cigars with belly bands and then tip the word to him. He smells the cigars and says, "Have you got any more of them?" "Another good handful," I say. "And my comrade," I point to Crop, "he has some as well." We might possibly be glad to hand them to you out of the window of the hospital train in the morning." He understands, of course, smells them once again, and says, "Done." We cannot get a minute's sleep all night. 7 fellows die in our ward. One of them sings hymns in a high cracked tenor before he begins to gurgle. Another has crept out of his bed to the window. He lies in front of it as though he wants to look out for the last time. Our stretchers stand on the platform. We wait for the train. It rains, and the station has no roof. Our covers are thin. We have waited already 2 hours. The sergeant major looks after us like a mother. Although I feel pretty bad, I do not let our scheme out of my mind. Occasionally I let him see the packet and give him 1 cigar in advance. In exchange, the sergeant major covers us over with a waterproof sheet. "Albert, old man," I suddenly bethink myself, "our 4-poster and the cat. And the club chairs," he adds. "Yes, the club chairs with red plush. In the evening we used to sit in them like lords, and intended later on to let them out by the hour. 1 cigarette per hour. It might have turned into a regular business, a real good living. And our bags of grub, too, Albert." We grow melancholy. We might have made some use of the things. If only the train left 1 day later, Cat would be sure to find us and bring us the stuff. What damned hard luck. In our bellies there is gruel, mean hospital stuff, and in our bags roast pork. But we are so weak that we cannot work up any more excitement about it. The stretchers are sopping wet by the time the train arrives in the morning. The sergeant major sees to it that we are put in the same car. There is a crowd of Red Cross nurses. Kropp is stowed in below. I am lifted up and put into the bed above him. "Good God!" I exclaim suddenly. "What is it?" asked the sister. I cast a glance at the bed. It is covered with clean snow-white linen, that even has the marks of the iron still on it. And my shirt has gone 6 weeks without being washed and is terribly muddy. "Can't you get in by yourself?" asked the sister gently. "Why, yes," I say in a sweat, "but take off the bed cover first." "What for?" I feel like a pig. Must I get in there? "It will get—" I hesitate. "A little bit dirty?" she suggests helpfully. "That doesn't matter. We will wash it again afterwards." No, not that," I say excitedly. I am not equal to such overwhelming refinement. "When you have been lying out there in the trenches, surely we can wash a sheet," she goes on. I look at her. She is young and crisp, spotless and neat, like everything here. A man cannot realize that it isn't for officers only, and feels himself strange and in some way even alarmed. All the same, the woman is a tormentor. She is going to force me to say it. "It is only—" I try again. Surely she must know what I mean. "What is it, then?" "Because of the lice," I bawl out at last. She laughs. "Well, they must have a good day for once, too." Now I don't care any more. I scramble into bed and pull up the covers. A hand gropes over the bed cover. The sergeant major. He goes off with the cigars. An hour later we notice that we are moving. At night I cannot sleep. Kropp is restless too. The train rides easily over the rails. I cannot realize it all yet. A bed, a train, home. "Albert," I whisper. "Yes?" "Do you know where the latrine is?" "Over to the right of the door, I think." "I'm going to have a look." It is dark. I grope for the edge of the bed and cautiously try to slide down, but my foot finds no support. I begin to slip. The plaster leg is no help, and with a crash I lie on the floor. "Damn," I say. "Have you bumped yourself?" asks Kropp. "You could hear that well enough for yourself," I growl. "My head." A door opens in the rear of the car. The sister comes with a light and looks at me. "He has fallen out of bed." She feels my pulse and smooths my forehead. "You haven't any fever, though." "No," I agree. "Have you been dreaming, then?" she asks. "Perhaps," I evade. The interrogation starts again. She looks at me with her clear eyes, and the more wonderful and sweet she is, the less I am able to tell her what I want. I am lifted up into bed again. That will be all right. As soon as she goes, I must try to climb down again. If she were an old woman, it might be easier to say what a man wants, but she is so very young, at the most 25, it can't be done. I cannot possibly tell her. Then Albert comes to my rescue. He is not bashful. It makes no difference to him who is upset. He calls to the sister. She turns round. "Sister, he wants—" But no more does Albert know how to express it modestly and decently. Out there we say it in a single word, but here, to such a lady— All at once he remembers his school days and finishes hastily, "He wants to leave the room, sister." "Ah," says the sister, "but he shouldn't climb out of his bed with his plaster bandage. What do you want, then?" she says, turning to me. I am in mortal terror at this new turn, for I haven't any idea what the things are called professionally. She comes to my help. "Little or big?" This shocking business. I sweat like a pig and say shyly, "Well, only quite a little one." At any rate, it produces the effect. I get a bottle. After a few hours, I am no longer the only one, and by morning we are quite accustomed to it and ask for what we want without any false modesty. The train travels slowly. Sometimes it halts and the dead are unloaded. It halts often. Albert is feverish. I feel miserable and have a good deal of pain, but the worst of it is that apparently there are still lice under the plaster bandage. They itch terribly, and I cannot scratch myself. We sleep through the days. The country glides quietly past the window. The third night we reach Herbstall. I hear from the sister that Albert is to be put off at the next station because of his fever. "How far does the train go?" I ask. "To Cologne." "Albert," I say, "we stick together. You see." On the sister's next round, I hold my breath and press it up into my head. My face swells and turns red. She stops. "Are you in pain?" "Yes," I groan, "all of a sudden." She gives me a thermometer and goes on. I would not have been under Cat's tuition if I did not know what to do now. These army thermometers are not made for old soldiers. All one has to do is to drive the quicksilver up, and then it stays there without falling again. I stick the thermometer under my arm at a slant and flip it steadily with my forefinger. Then I give it a shake. I send it up to 100.2, but that is not enough. A match held cautiously near it brings it up to 101.6. As the sister comes back, I blow myself out, breathe in short gasps, goggle at her with vacant eyes, toss about restlessly, and mutter in a whisper, "I can't bear it any longer." She notes me down on a slip of paper. I know perfectly well my plaster bandage will not be reopened if it can be avoided. Albert and I are put off together. We are in the same room in a Catholic hospital. That is a piece of luck. The Catholic infirmaries are noted for their good treatment and good food. The hospital has been filled up from our train. There are a great many bad cases amongst them. We do not get examined today because there are too few surgeons. The flat trolleys with the rubber wheels pass continually along the corridor, and always with someone stretched at full length upon them. A damnable position, stretched out at full length like that. The only time it is good is when one is asleep. The night is very disturbed. No one can sleep. Toward morning we doze a little. I wake up just as it grows light. The door stands open, and I hear voices from the corridor. The others wake up too. One fellow, who has been there a couple of days already, explains it to us. "Up there in the corridor, every morning the sisters say prayers. They call it morning devotion, and so that you can get your share, they leave the door open." No doubt it is well meant, but it gives us aches in our head and bones. Such an absurdity, I say, just when a man dropped off to sleep. All the light cases are up here, that's why they do it here, he replies. Albert groans. I get furious and call out, Be quiet out there! A minute later, a sister appears. In her black and white dress, she looks like a beautiful tea cozy. Shut the door, will you, sister? Says someone. We are saying prayers. That is why the door is open, she responds. But we want to go on sleeping. Prayer is better than sleep. She stands there and smiles innocently. And it is 7 o'clock already. Albert groans again. Shut the door, I snort. She is quite disconcerted. Apparently, she cannot understand. But we are saying prayers for you, too. Shut the door anyway. She disappears, leaving the door open. The intoning of the litany proceeds. I feel savage and say, I'm going to count up to 3. If it doesn't stop before then, I'll let something fly. Me too, says another. I count up to 5. Then I take hold of a bottle, aim, and heave it through the door into the corridor. It smashes into 1,000 pieces. The praying stops. A swarm of sisters appear and reproach us in concert. Shut the door, we yell. They withdraw. The little one who came first is the last to go. Heathen, she chirps, but shuts the door all the same. We have won. At noon, the hospital inspector arrives and abuses us. He threatens us with clink and all the rest of it. But a hospital inspector is just the same as a commissariat inspector, or anyone else who wears a long dagger and shoulder straps, but is really a clerk, and is never considered even by a recruit as a real officer, so we let him talk. What can they do to us anyway? Who threw the bottle? He asks. Before I can think whether I should report myself, someone says, I did. A man with a bristling beard sits up. Everyone is excited. Why should he report himself? You? Yes. I was annoyed because we were waked up unnecessarily and lost my senses, so that I did not know what I was doing. He talks like a book. What is your name? Reinforcement Reservist Josef Hammaker. The inspector departs. We are all curious. But why did you say you did it? It wasn't you at all. He grins. That doesn't matter. I have a shooting license. Then, of course, we all understand. Whoever has a shooting license can do just whatever he pleases. Yes, he explains, I got a crack in the head, and they presented me with a certificate to say that I was periodically not responsible for my actions. Ever since then, I've had a grand time. No one dares to annoy me, and nobody does anything to me. I reported myself because the shot amused me. If they open the door again tomorrow, we will pitch another. We are overjoyed. With Josef Hammaker in our midst, we can now risk anything. Then come the soundless flat trolleys to take us away. The bandages are stuck fast. We bellow like steers. There are 8 men in our room. Peter, a curly black-haired fellow, has the worst injury, a severe lung wound. Franz Wachter, alongside him, has a shot in the arm which didn't look too bad at first. But the third night he calls out to us, telling us to ring. He thinks he has a hemorrhage. I ring loudly. The night sister does not come. We have been making rather heavy demands on her during the night, because we all have been freshly bandaged, and so have a good deal of pain. One wants his leg placed so, another so, a third wants water, a fourth wants her to shake up his pillow. In the end, the buxom old body grumbled bad-temperedly and slammed the doors. Now, no doubt she thinks it is something of the same sort, and so she is not coming. We wait. Then Franz says, "Ring again." I do so. Still she does not put in an appearance. In our wing there is only one night sister. Perhaps she has something to do in one of the other rooms. "Franz, are you quite sure you are bleeding?" I ask. "Otherwise we shall be getting cursed again." "The bandage is wet. Can't anybody make a light?" "That cannot be done either. The switch is by the door, and none of us can stand up." I hold my thumb against the button of the bell till it becomes numb. Perhaps the sister has fallen asleep. They certainly have a great deal to do and are all overworked day after day. And added to that is the everlasting praying. "Should we smash a bottle?" asked Joseph Hammaker of the shooting license. "She wouldn't hear that any more than the bell." At last the door opens. The old lady appears, mumbling. When she perceives Franz's trouble, she begins to bustle and says, "Why did not someone say I was wanted?" "We did ring, and none of us here can walk." He has been bleeding badly, and she binds him up. In the morning, when we look at his face, it has become sharp and yellow, whereas the evening before he looked almost healthy. Now a sister comes oftener. Sometimes there are Red Cross Voluntary Aid Sisters. They are pleasant, but often rather unskilled. They frequently give us pain when remaking our beds, and then are so frightened that they hurt us still more. The nuns are more reliable. They know how they must take hold of us, but we would be more pleased if they were somewhat more cheerful. A few of them have real spirit. They are superb. There is no one who would not do anything for Sister Libertine, this marvelous sister, who spreads good cheer through the whole wing even when she can only be seen in the distance. And there are others like her. We would go through fire for her. A man cannot really complain. Here he is treated by the nuns exactly like a civilian. On the other hand, just to think of a garrison hospital gives a man the creeps. Franz Wachter does not regain his strength. One day he is taken away and does not come back. Joseph Hammaker knows all about it. "We shan't see him again. They have put him in the dead room." "What do you mean, dead room?" asks Krupp. "Well, dying room." "What is that, then?" "A little room at the corner of the building. Whoever is about to kick the bucket is put in there. There are 2 beds in it. It is generally called the dying room." "But what do they do that for?" "They don't have so much work to do afterwards. It is more convenient, too, because it lies right beside the lift to the mortuary. Perhaps also they do it for the sake of the others, so that no one in the ward dies in sympathy. And they can look after him better, too, if he is by himself." "But what about him?" Joseph shrugs his shoulders. Usually he doesn't take much notice any more. "Does everybody know about it, then?" "Anyone who has been here long enough knows, of course." In the afternoon, Franz Wachter's bed has a fresh occupant. A couple of days later, they take the new man away, too. Joseph makes a significant gesture. We see many come and go. Often relatives sit by the beds and weep or talk softly and awkwardly. One old woman will not go away, but she cannot stay there the whole night through. Another morning she comes very early, but not early enough, for as she goes up to the bed, someone else is in it already. She has to go to the mortuary. The apples that she has brought with her she gives to us. And then little Peter begins to get worse. His temperature chart looks bad, and one day the flat trolley stands beside his bed. "Where to?" he asks. "To the bandaging ward." He is lifted out, but the sister makes the mistake of removing his tunic from the hook and putting it on the trolley too, so that she should not have to make 2 journeys. Peter understands immediately and tries to roll off the trolley. "I'm stopping here." They push him back. He cries out feebly with his shattered lung, "I won't go to the dying room." "But we are going to the bandaging ward." "Then what do you want my tunic for?" He can speak no more. Hoarse, agitated, he whispers, "Stopping here." They do not answer, but wheel him out. At the door he tries to raise himself up. His black curly head sways, his eyes are full of tears. "I will come back again. I will come back again," he cries. The door shuts. We are all excited, but we say nothing. At last Joseph says, "Many a man has said that. Once a man is in there, he never comes through. I am operated on and vomit for 2 days. My bones will not grow together, so the surgeon's secretary says. Another fellow's have grown crooked. His are broken again. It is disgusting. Among our new arrivals there are 2 young soldiers with flat feet. The chief surgeon discovers them on his rounds and is overjoyed. "We'll soon put that right," he tells them. "We will just do a small operation, and then you'll have perfectly sound feet. Enter them down, sister." As soon as he is gone, Joseph, who knows everything, warns them. "Don't you let him operate on you. That is a specific scientific stunt of the old boy's. He goes absolutely crazy whenever he can get hold of anyone to do it on. He operates on you for flat feet, and there's no mistake. You don't have them anymore. You have club feet instead, and have to walk all the rest of your life on sticks." "What should a man do then?" asks one of them. "Say no. You are here to be cured of your wound, not your flat feet. Did you have any trouble with them in the field? No? Well, there you are. At present you can still walk, but if once the old boy gets you under the knife, you'll be cripples. What he wants is little dogs to experiment with, so the war is a glorious time for him, as it is for all the surgeons. You take a look down below at the staff. There are a dozen fellows hobbling around that he has operated on. A lot of them have been here all the time since 14 and 15. Not a single one of them can walk better than he could before, almost all of them worse, and mostly only with plaster legs. Every 6 months he catches them again and breaks their bones afresh, and every time is going to be the successful one. You take my word, he won't dare to do it if you say no." "Ach, man," says one of the 2 unfortunates, "better your feet than your brain box. There's no telling what you'll get if you go back out there again. They can do with me just as they please, so long as I get back home. Better to have a club foot than be dead." The other, a young fellow like ourselves, won't have it done. One morning the old man has the 2 hauled up and lectures and jaws at them so long that in the end they consent. What else could they do? They are mere privates, and he is a big bug. They are brought back chloroformed and plastered. It is going badly with Albert. They have taken him and amputated his leg. The whole leg has been taken off from the thigh. Now he hardly speaks any more. Once he says he will shoot himself the first time he can get hold of his revolver again. A new convoy arrives. Our room gets 2 blind men. One of them is a very youthful musician. The sisters never have a knife with them when they feed him. He has already snatched one from a sister. But in spite of this caution, there is an incident. In the evening, while he is being fed, the sister is called away, and leaves the plate with the fork on his table. He gropes for the fork, seizes it, and drives it with all his force against his heart. Then he snatches up a shoe and strikes with it against the handle as hard as he can. We call for help, and 3 men are necessary to take the fork away from him. The blunt prongs had already penetrated deep. He abuses us all night so that no one can go to sleep. In the morning he has lockjaw. Again beds become empty. Day after day goes by with pain and fear, groans and death gurgles. Even the death room is no use any more. It is too small. Fellows die during the night in our room. They go even faster than the sisters can cope with them. But one day the door flies open, the flat trolley rolls in, and there on the stretcher, pale, thin, upright, and triumphant, with his shaggy head of curls, sits Peter. Sister Libertine, with beaming looks, pushes him over to his former bed. He is back from the dying room. We have long supposed him dead. He looks round. What do you say now? And even Joseph has to admit that it is the first time he has ever known of such a thing. Gradually, a few of us venture to stand up, and I am given crutches to hobble around on. But I do not make much use of them. I cannot bear Albert's gaze as I move about the room. His eyes always follow me with such a strange look. So I sometimes escape to the corridor. There I can move about more freely. On the next floor below are the abdominal and spine cases, head wounds, and double amputations. On the right side of the wing are the jaw wounds, gas cases, nose, ear, and neck wounds. On the left, the blind and the lung wounds, pelvis wounds, wounds in the joints, wounds in the testicles, wounds in the intestines. Here a man realizes for the first time in how many places a man can get hit. 2 fellows die of tetanus. Their skin turns pale, their limbs stiffen. At last only their eyes live, stubbornly. Many of the wounded have their shattered limbs hanging free in the air from a gallows. Underneath the wound a basin is placed into which the pus drips. Every 2 or 3 hours the vessel is emptied. Other men lie in stretching bandages with heavy weights hanging from the end of the bed. I see intestine wounds that are constantly full of excreta. The surgeon's clerk shows me X-ray photographs of completely smashed hip bones, knees, and shoulders. A man cannot realize that above such shattered bodies there are still human faces in which life goes its daily round. And this is only one hospital, one single station. There are hundreds of thousands in Germany, hundreds of thousands in France, hundreds of thousands in Russia. How senseless is everything that can ever be written, done, or thought when such things are possible. It must all be lies and of no account when the culture of 1,000 years could not prevent this stream of blood being poured out, these torture chambers in their hundreds of thousands. A hospital alone shows what war is. I am young. I am 20 years old. Yet I know nothing of life, but despair, death, fear, and fatuous superficiality cast over an abyss of sorrow. I see how peoples are set one against one another, and in silence, unknowingly, foolishly, obediently, innocently slay one another. I see that the keenest of brains of the world invent weapons and words to make it yet more refined and enduring. And all men of my age, here and over there, throughout the whole world, see these things. All my generation is experiencing these things with me. What would our fathers do if we suddenly stood up and came before them and proffered our account? What do they expect of us if a time ever comes when the war is over? Through the years our business has been killing. It was our first calling in life. Our knowledge of life is limited to death. What will happen afterwards, and what shall come out of us? The oldest man in our room is Lewandowski. He is 40 and has already lain 10 months in the hospital with a severe abdominal wound. Just in the last few weeks he has improved sufficiently to be able to hobble about doubled up. For some days past he has been in great excitement. His wife has written to him from the little home in Poland where she lives, telling him that she has saved up enough money to pay for the fare and is coming to see him. She is already on the way and may arrive any day. Lewandowski has lost his appetite. He even gives away red cabbage and sausage after he has had a couple of mouthfuls. He goes round the room perpetually with the letter. Everyone has already read it a dozen times. The postmarks have been examined heaven knows how often. The address is hardly legible any longer for spots of grease and thumb marks. And in the end, what is sure to happen, happens. Lewandowski develops a fever and has to go back to bed. He has not seen his wife for 2 years. In the meantime, she has given birth to a child, whom she is bringing with her. But something else occupies Lewandowski's thoughts. He had hoped to get permission to go out when his old woman came. For obviously, seeing is all very well, but when a man gets his wife again after such a long time, if at all possible, a man wants something else besides. Lewandowski has discussed it all with us at great length. In the army, there are no secrets about such things. And what's more, nobody finds anything objectionable in it. Those of us who are already able to go out have told him of a couple of very good spots in the town, parks and squares, where he would not be disturbed. One of us even knows of a little room. But what is the use? There Lewandowski lies in bed with his troubles. Life holds no more joy for him if he has to forego this affair. We console him and promise to get over the difficulty somehow or other. One afternoon his wife appears, a tousled little thing with anxious, quick eyes like a bird, in a sort of black, crinkly mantilla with ribbons. Heaven knows where she inherited the thing. She murmurs something softly and stands shyly in the doorway. It terrifies her that there are 6 of us men present. "Well, Maria," says Lewandowski, and gulps dangerously with his Adam's apple, "you can come in all right. They won't hurt you." She goes the round and proffers each of us her hand. Then she produces the child, which in the interval has done something in its napkin. From a large handbag embroidered with pearls, she takes out a clean one and makes the child fresh and presentable. This dispels her first embarrassment, and the two begin to talk. Lewandowski is very fidgety. Every now and then he squints across at us most unhappily with his round goggle eyes. The time is favorable. The doctor's visit is over. At the most there couldn't be more than 1 sister left in the ward. So one of us goes out to prospect. He comes back and nods. "Not a soul to be seen. Now's your chance, Johann. Set to." The two speak together in an undertone. The woman turns a little red and looks embarrassed. We grin good-naturedly and make pooh-poohing gestures. What does it matter? The devil take all the conventions. They were made for other times. Here lies the carpenter Johann Lewandowski, a soldier shot to a cripple, and there is his wife. Who knows when he will see her again? He wants to have her, and he should have her. Good. 2 men stand at the door to forestall the sisters and keep them occupied if they chance to come along. They agree to stand guard for a quarter of an hour or thereabouts. Lewandowski can only lie on his side, so one of us props a couple of pillows against his back. Albert gets the child to hold. We all turn round a bit, the black mantilla disappears under the bedclothes, we make a great clatter and play scat noisily. All goes well. I hold a club solo with 4 jacks, which nearly goes the round. In the process, we almost forget Lewandowski. After a while, the child begins to squall, although Albert, in desperation, rocks it to and fro. Then there is a bit of creaking and rustling, and as we look up casually, we see that the child has the bottle in its mouth and is back again with its mother. The business is over. We now feel ourselves like one big family. The woman is rather quieter, and Lewandowski lies there sweating and beaming. He unpacks the embroidered handbag, and a couple of good sausages comes to light. Lewandowski takes up the knife with a flourish and saws the meat into slices. With a handsome gesture, he waves toward us, and the little woman goes from one to the other and smiles at us and hands round the sausage. She now looks quite handsome. We call her Mother. She is pleased and shakes up our pillows for us. After a few weeks, I have to go each morning to the massage department. There my leg is harnessed up and made to move. The arm has healed long since. New convoys arrive from the line. The bandages are no longer made of cloth, but of white crepe paper. Rag bandages have become scarce at the front. Albert's stump heals well. The wound is almost closed. In a few weeks he should go off to an institute for artificial limbs. He continues not to talk much, and is much more solemn than formerly. He often breaks off in his speech and stares in front of him. If he were not here with us, he would have shot himself long ago. But now he is over the worst of it, and he often looks on while we play scat. I get convalescent leave. My mother does not want to let me go away. She is so feeble. It is all much worse than it was last time. Then I am sent on from the base and return once more to the line. Parting from my friend Albert Kropp was very hard, but a man gets used to that sort of thing in the army. End of Chapter 10.